ecologism is a reaction against the process of industrialization and urbanization. It promotes sustainability and believes that a fulfilling existence needs to be based on a radical altering of our relationship with non-human nature and our social and political life. The core ideas and principles of ecologism are that ecology, holism, environmental ethics, post-materialism, anti-consumerism and sustainability challenge dominant anthropocentric worldviews and call for a reorientation of the state, economy and society towards ecological balance. The idea of ecology is that all life forms exist within an interconnected web of relationships where the survival of each depends on the health of the whole ecosystem. The study of the relationship between living beings and the environment leads deep green ecologists to argue for a radical transformation of the state towards decentralization and ecological stewardship. The study of the relationship between living beings and the environment leads shallow green ecologists to support state intervention only where it protects human interests and economic stability. Based on the idea of ecology, ecologists view human nature as inherently interconnected with the natural world rather than superior to it. Based on the idea of ecology, ecologists view the economy as a subsystem of the environment that must operate within ecological limits. Based on the idea of ecology, ecologists view society as an ecological community that must live in harmony with other species. Based on the idea of ecology, ecologists view the state as responsible for protecting ecological systems as the foundation of life. The idea of holism is that the Earth functions as a single living system where all parts are interdependent and cannot be understood in isolation. The opposition to the mechanistic worldview of post-Enlightenment science asserts that the dominant view of the non-human world and economy as machines to be controlled leads to ecological destruction and alienation. Based on the idea of holism, ecologists view human nature as cooperative and relational, shaped by its embeddedness in the wider ecological whole. Based on the idea of holism, ecologists view the economy as an integrated part of the ecosystem rather than a separate sphere of human activity. Based on the idea of holism, ecologists view society as an organic community bound by interdependence with the natural world. Based on the idea of holism, ecologists view the state as a facilitator of ecological balance rather than a controller of nature. The idea of environmental ethics is that new moral standards must guide human relationships with each other and the non-human world to underpin ecological governance. The nature of ethics in ecologism is that morality must extend beyond humans to include animals, plants, and ecosystems as entities with intrinsic value. Based on the idea of environmental ethics, ecologists view human nature as morally responsible for protecting all forms of life. Based on the idea of environmental ethics, ecologists view the economy as subject to moral limits that prevent exploitation of the environment. Based on the idea of environmental ethics, ecologists view society as guided by ecological responsibility and respect for the non-human world. Based on the idea of environmental ethics, ecologists view the state as bound by moral duty to protect ecological integrity. The idea of environmental consciousness is that true self-realization comes when individuals identify deeply with nature. There needs to be a radical change in human nature and society to move from egoism and competition towards ecological awareness and cooperation. Based on the idea of environmental consciousness, ecologists view human nature as capable of spiritual and ecological awakening. Based on the idea of environmental consciousness, ecologists view the economy as a tool for ecological well-being rather than material gain. Based on the idea of environmental consciousness, ecologists view society as an extension of the natural world rather than a dominator over it. Based on the idea of environmental consciousness, ecologists view the state as a guardian of ecological awareness and harmony. The ideas of post-materialist and anti-consumerism are that human fulfillment is not achieved through material goods but through quality of life, community, and ecological balance. The criticisms of materialism argue that consumerism causes environmental degradation, alienates individuals, and undermines long-term well-being. The move beyond materialism is achieved through valuing simplicity, community, and ecological sustainability rather than economic growth. Based on post-materialist and anti-consumerism ideas, ecologists view human nature as capable of valuing well-being over consumption. Based on post-materialist and anti-consumerism ideas, ecologists view the economy as needing to prioritize ecological stability over profit. Based on post-materialist and anti-consumerism ideas, ecologists view society as enriched through non-material values and communal living. Based on post-materialist and anti-consumerism ideas, ecologists view the state as responsible for regulating consumption and promoting sustainable lifestyles. The idea of sustainability is that the ecological system must be preserved over time to maintain its capacity to support life. There is a need for sustainability because ecological degradation threatens long-term survival, requiring new economic models focused on renewable resources. The type of sustainability required is strong sustainability where natural capital cannot be substituted by human-made capital. The way of delivering sustainability is through long-term planning, regulation, and ecological stewardship. The implications for sustainability are that the state must enforce ecological limits, society must adopt sustainable lifestyles, and the economy must shift to circular production. Based on the idea of sustainability, ecologists view human nature as adaptable and capable of living within ecological limits. Based on the idea of sustainability, ecologists view the economy as needing to function within the regenerative capacity of ecosystems. Based on the idea of sustainability, ecologists view society as a participant in preserving ecological balance. Based on the idea of sustainability, ecologists view the state as the guardian of long-term ecological security. The different types of ecologism are deep green ecologism, shallow green ecologism, and social ecology. Deep green ecology is a radical ecocentric doctrine that emphasizes environmental consciousness, intrinsic value in nature, and strong sustainability as necessary for planetary survival. The deep green ecologist view on ecology is that nature is an interconnected whole with intrinsic value beyond human use. The deep green ecologist view on holism is that the Earth is a living system where humans are only one part of a wider ecological community. The deep green ecologist view on environmental ethics is that moral consideration must extend to all living and non-living entities. The deep green ecologist view on environmental consciousness is that human identity should be transformed through deep identification with nature. The deep green ecologist view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that human fulfillment comes from harmony with nature rather than material possessions. The deep green ecologist view on sustainability is that only strong sustainability can preserve the ecological system over time. The deep green ecologist view on human nature is that humans are capable of ecological enlightenment and must abandon anthropocentrism. The deep green ecologist view on the economy is that economic systems must be reorganized to operate entirely within ecological limits. The deep green ecologist view on society is that social values must be reshaped to reflect ecological balance and community. The deep green ecologist view on the state is that political structures must be fundamentally transformed to protect ecological integrity. Shallow green ecologism is a reformist stance based on enlightened anthropocentrism and weak sustainability aimed at preserving the environment for human benefit. The shallow green ecologist view on ecology is that nature must be protected because human well-being depends on it. The shallow green ecologist view on holism is that ecological interdependence matters but human needs remain central. The shallow green ecologist view on environmental ethics is that ethical concern for nature is justified primarily through its utility to humans. The shallow green ecologist view on environmental consciousness is that awareness of environmental issues is necessary to maintain human prosperity. The shallow green ecologist view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that excessive consumption must be curbed to ensure long-term human survival. The shallow green ecologist view on sustainability is that weak sustainability allows economic growth as long as environmental harm is mitigated. The shallow green ecologist view on human nature is that humans are rational and will protect nature when it aligns with their interests. The shallow green ecologist view on the economy is that the market can be guided through regulation and technology to achieve sustainability. The shallow green ecologist view on society is that social progress requires environmental protection alongside economic development. The shallow green ecologist view on the state is that governments should implement environmental policies without radically transforming political structures. Social ecology holds that environmental degradation is caused by existing hierarchical social structures and sustainability can only be achieved through radical social change. Different types of social ecology are eco-socialism, eco-anarchism, and eco-feminism. Eco-socialism argues that capitalism causes ecological destruction, and environmental justice requires a socialist transformation. The eco-socialist view on ecology is that ecological balance can only be achieved through collective ownership and control of resources. The eco-socialist view on holism is that humans and nature form a single system oppressed by capitalist exploitation. The eco-socialist view on environmental ethics is that protecting nature is a moral duty arising from the need to overcome capitalist domination. The eco-socialist view on environmental consciousness is that awareness of ecological justice arises from class struggle and collective action. The eco-socialist view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that consumerism is a capitalist tool that must be replaced with collective well-being. The eco-socialist view on sustainability is that only socialist planning can guarantee strong sustainability. The eco-socialist view on human nature is that humans are cooperative and best flourish in communal ecological societies. The eco-socialist view on the economy is that production should be democratically planned to meet ecological and social needs. The eco-socialist view on society is that equality and environmental protection are interconnected goals. The eco-socialist view on the state is that it should be transformed into a democratic ecological state serving the collective interest. Eco-anarchism holds that ecological degradation is rooted in hierarchy and can only be solved by dismantling the state. The eco-anarchist view on ecology is that ecosystems thrive without centralized control just as human societies should. The eco-anarchist view on holism is that decentralized communities live in balance with the wider ecological whole. The eco-anarchist view on environmental ethics is that all forms of domination, including domination of nature, are morally wrong. The eco-anarchist view on environmental consciousness is that humans must reject authority to reconnect with nature. The eco-anarchist view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that consumerism is a form of social control that must be replaced with simple communal living. The eco-anarchist view on sustainability is that only decentralized self-sufficient communities can maintain ecological balance. The eco-anarchist view on human nature is that humans are naturally cooperative when freed from hierarchical structures. The eco-anarchist view on the economy is that it should be based on local self-management and ecological subsistence. The eco-anarchist view on society is that hierarchical systems must be replaced with voluntary ecological communities. The eco-anarchist view on the state is that it must be abolished to allow true ecological harmony. Eco-feminism argues that the domination of nature is linked to the domination of women and both must be ended to achieve sustainability. The eco-feminist view on ecology is that ecosystems are living communities harmed by patriarchal exploitation. The eco-feminist view on holism is that humans are part of a nurturing web of life that must be respected. The eco-feminist view on environmental ethics is that moral concern must extend to all beings through principles of care and reciprocity. The eco-feminist view on environmental consciousness is that reconnecting with nature requires embracing feminine values of empathy and nurturance. The eco-feminist view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that materialism is a patriarchal construct that must be replaced with values of care and ecological well-being. The eco-feminist view on sustainability is that sustainability depends on dismantling patriarchal systems that prioritize domination over care. The eco-feminist view on human nature is that human beings are caring and cooperative when freed from patriarchal conditioning. The eco-feminist view on the economy is that it should be based on ecological care work and communal responsibility. The eco-feminist view on society is that social structures should promote equality, care and environmental harmony. The eco-feminist view on the state is that patriarchal power must be dismantled to create an ecological and just society. There are 5 key thinkers for ecologism: Aldo Leopold, Rachel Carson, E. F. Schumacher, Mary Bookchin, and Carolyn Marchant. Aldo Leopold's ideas are that the land ethic must extend moral consideration to the non-human world and that conservation fails when it is based on economic self-interest rather than ecological responsibility. The idea of the land ethic is that humans are members of a wider biotic community and must preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the natural world. The idea of conservation fails is that conservation cannot succeed if it remains within an economic framework that treats nature as a resource rather than a community to which humans belong. Aldo Leopold's view on ecology is that all living beings exist within a complex web of interdependence where ecological health determines human survival. Aldo Leopold's view on holism is that nature functions as an integrated system where the well-being of each part relies on the health of the whole. Aldo Leopold's view on environmental ethics is that morality must guide human interactions with the land to ensure ecological harmony and prevent degradation. Aldo Leopold's view on environmental consciousness is that humans must develop a deep ecological awareness that recognizes nature's intrinsic value. Aldo Leopold's view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that human fulfillment should come from living in balance with nature rather than exploiting it for economic gain. Aldo Leopold's view on sustainability is that long-term ecological stewardship is essential for maintaining the biotic community. Aldo Leopold's view on human nature is that humans are capable of moral growth and can choose to act as responsible members of the ecological community. Aldo Leopold's view on the economy is that economic systems must be subordinate to ecological limits. Aldo Leopold's view on society is that communities should be organized around ecological responsibility and land stewardship. Aldo Leopold's view on the state is that government policies should be based on ecological principles rather than economic exploitation. Rachel Carson's ideas are that the state and society do not have the authority to dominate nature and that nature should be seen holistically as a living system rather than a resource for human exploitation. The idea that the state and society do not have the authority to dominate nature is that the use of chemical pesticides causes long-term ecological damage that threatens human and non-human life. The idea that nature should be seen holistically is that nature does not exist for human convenience but as a complex living system with its own intrinsic value. Rachel Carson's view on ecology is that human survival is dependent on the health of ecosystems which must be protected from industrial exploitation. Rachel Carson's view on holism is that the natural world is interconnected and any harm to one part affects the whole system. Rachel Carson's view on environmental ethics is that humans have a moral duty to protect the natural world from unnecessary harm. Rachel Carson's view on environmental consciousness is that awareness of ecological consequences must shape human behavior. Rachel Carson's view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that the pursuit of economic growth must be rejected when it destroys ecological health. Rachel Carson's view on sustainability is that long-term ecological stability is essential for the survival of life on Earth. Rachel Carson's view on human nature is that humans are capable of recognizing their ecological responsibility. Rachel Carson's view on the economy is that economic activity must be restrained to prevent ecological destruction. Rachel Carson's view on society is that social values must shift from domination to preservation of nature. Rachel Carson's view on the state is that governments must regulate harmful industrial practices to protect ecological systems. E. F. Schumacher's ideas are that Buddhist economics places human well-being above consumption while traditional economics is based on the false belief that material goods are more important than people and creativity. The idea of Buddhist economics is that the purpose of economic life is to maximize well-being with minimum consumption in harmony with nature. The idea of traditional economics is that it wrongly prioritizes material wealth over human dignity and ecological health. E. F. Schumacher's view on ecology is that economic systems must align with ecological principles. E. F. Schumacher's view on holism is that human economic life is inseparable from the natural environment. E. F. Schumacher's view on environmental ethics is that economic decisions must be guided by moral responsibility towards the earth. E. F. Schumacher's view on environmental consciousness is that humans should recognize the spiritual and ecological dimensions of life. E. F. Schumacher's view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that true prosperity comes from simplicity and meaningful work rather than consumption. E. F. Schumacher's view on sustainability is that economies must be based on renewable resources and long-term ecological balance. E. F. Schumacher's view on human nature is that humans seek meaningful, creative activity rather than endless consumption. E. F. Schumacher's view on the economy is that small-scale, local economies are the most sustainable and humane. E. F. Schumacher's view on society is that social structures should promote community, well-being, and ecological harmony. E. F. Schumacher's view on the state is that government should support sustainable, decentralized economic systems. Murray Bookchin's ideas are that the environmental crisis is caused by oppressive social structures and that lessons from ecology show that future societies should be decentralized and self-sufficient. The idea that the environmental crisis emerges from existing social structures of oppression is that hierarchical systems must be dismantled to restore ecological balance. The idea that lessons should be learned from ecology is that societies must be organized as decentralized, self-sufficient communes in harmony with natural systems. Murray Bookchin's view on ecology is that ecological health depends on the transformation of social structures. Murray Bookchin's view on holism is that society and nature are parts of the same organic whole. Murray Bookchin's view on environmental ethics is that domination of nature stems from domination of human beings and must be rejected. Murray Bookchin's view on environmental consciousness is that ecological awareness emerges from social liberation. Murray Bookchin's view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that consumerism is a product of oppressive systems that must be replaced with cooperative living. Murray Bookchin's view on sustainability is that sustainability requires a radical restructuring of social and political systems. Murray Bookchin's view on human nature is that humans are naturally cooperative and capable of living in harmony when freed from oppressive hierarchies. Murray Bookchin's view on the economy is that production should be decentralized and community-based. Murray Bookchin's view on society is that only egalitarian, communal societies can achieve ecological harmony. Murray Bookchin's view on the state is that hierarchical state power must be dismantled and replaced with local ecological governance. Carolyn Merchant's ideas are that the oppression of nature is linked to the oppression of women and that opposition to the mechanistic male view of science is necessary to restore ecological balance. The idea that the oppression and death of nature are linked to gender oppression is that ecological survival requires radical restructuring of gender relations based on care and equality. The idea of opposition to the mechanistic male view of science and nature is that reductionist science dominates society and must be replaced with a holistic, relational worldview. Carolyn Merchant's view on ecology is that nature is a living entity that must be respected and protected. Carolyn Merchant's view on holism is that ecological and social systems are interdependent and should be approached as integrated wholes. Carolyn Merchant's view on environmental ethics is that moral responsibility must extend to both nature and oppressed human groups. Carolyn Merchant's view on environmental consciousness is that society must develop a nurturing, relational understanding of the natural world. Carolyn Merchant's view on post-materialist and anti-consumerism is that patriarchal consumerism must be replaced with values of care, sustainability, and equality. Carolyn Merchant's view on sustainability is that true sustainability can only be achieved by dismantling systems of domination over both women and nature. Carolyn Merchant's view on human nature is that humans are capable of cooperation and care when liberated from patriarchal norms. Carolyn Merchant's view on the economy is that it should be restructured around ecological care and gender equality. Carolyn Merchant's view on society is that social institutions must promote equality, justice, and ecological harmony. Carolyn Merchant's view on the state is that hierarchical and patriarchal state structures must be transformed to support ecological and social justice. Thank you for watching this video on ecologism. I'll see you in the next one.